Hello, welcome back to another episode on Red Foxy. If you like what you see, please like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on new content.
My 35M wife 34F just told me that she had a brief affair 4 years ago. Date: May 21st, 2022. My wife Kara and I've been married for almost 8 years. A couple of years into our marriage, we decided we wanted kids and started trying for. After not conceiving for over a year, we had ourselves checked out and I found out that I am sterile. This came as a massive blow because we've always wanted children. It was a very dark time for me. I was very miserable and threw myself at my work. I drank a lot and wasn't at home very much. I wasn't a good husband or partner to Kara. This went on for around 6 months. Kara tried to help for months, but after some time, she stopped. I eventually managed to get out of that slump. Kara and I spent a lot of time working on our relationship after that, and I thought we came out stronger. We had a lot of discussions and decided to adopt children. We adopted 2 kids. I thought we had a good marriage. Recently, one of Kara's close friends died in an accident. Kara has been acting very strangely since then, but I chalked it up to grief and have tried to help her. Yesterday, we sent our kids to my parents for the weekend. Kara told me about her affair after we had dinner. This is what she told me. When I was in my miserable phase, she was miserable too. She was devastated that we couldn't have children and started talking to a female coworker about it because I wasn't available. As I started withdrawing, Kara started relying on her more and more. A few weeks in, Kara started spending more time with her. One weekend they got drunk and had sex. This went on for over 2 months until Kara decided to break it off. Kara had proof that the affair was only under 3 months. She saved all the messages from when it started and when she ended it. Kara showed them to me and her coworker begged her to leave me in those messages. Kara stopped contact with that coworker and even left that job at that time to break it off completely. Kara told me that she rethought her life when her close friend died and didn't want to hide it from me anymore. I'm feeling devastated right now. She lied to me for 4 years. We adopted kids. I haven't been able to function all day. I told her that I needed to think and that I didn't want to talk to her. I've been in the guest bedroom all day and I can't think straight. What should I do now? How should I proceed? My head I messed up and I am not able to think properly. Do I need to anything immediately? Update: my 35M wife 34F just told me that she had a brief affair 4 years ago. Date: May 27th, 2022. Firstly, I want to thank all the commenters who gave advice on my original post. I got some DMs about my Kara sleeping with a woman. Both Kara and I are bisexual. She's had girlfriends and I've had boyfriends before we got married. Her interest in women is not news to me. After my post, we told my parents we were having some problems and asked them to keep the kids for the week. I was still angry at Kara. I told her I wasn't ready to talk about the affair and stuff. Before this happened, Kara and I used to do a lot of stuff together. We cooked together, exercised together and played video games together. These were usually the highlights of my day and we started doing those again. As the week progressed, it dawned on me how much I'd miss her and our companionship if we split. She was best friend and the person I relied on the most. After a few days, we finally sat down to talk. I asked her why she kept the messages and Kara told me that she did it because she wanted to have proof that the affair was brief and that she ended it. Kara told me that she realized that life was short and could end at any time when her friend died. And she didn't want to die with regret and guilt. So she told me. I didn't want to lose our partnership that I treasured without Altiste giving it a chance. So we're going to see a marriage counselor and I'm going to individual therapy. Kara is a great partner, an extremely fun person to be around and my driving force. I still haven't forgiven her for hiding the affair from me for 4 years and I told her that. I'm more pissed off at her for hiding it from me and than the actual affair. I made it clear to her that I might not be able to forgive her and that we might split in the end. But that I was willing to try because I love her and our partnership. Story 2. I 35M may have ruined my marriage with my wife 34F and I don't know what to do. I 35M have been happily married to my wife 34F for the past 10 years. For context, we are both nurses and attended the same nursing school together, which is how we met and ultimately ended up falling in love. One of the many things I love so much about my wife is the fact that she has the biggest heart, both at her job and at home. She cares deeply for her patients. And at home, she takes better care of me than I could ever ask for. She cooks dinner almost every night, cleans the house regularly, vacuums/sweeps/mops/etc. Does the laundry, takes the trash out each week, cuts the grass. I offered to do it once, but she says I don't do a good job, so I just stopped offering. She also manages our finances, and she even does some handy work around the house as well because I don't know how to do any of it. For instance, I tried to change one of the smoke detector batteries one time because it kept beeping. I ended up breaking the entire device and the coffee table that I stood on to reach the ceiling. Therefore, I am very afraid to attempt any handiwork these days. The crazy part about all of this is that she never complains about doing any of these things. Essentially, I hit the jackpot in terms of finding a good wife. But I do try to do my part around the house when I get the chance. For example, I unload the dishwasher once in a while, and I separate the garbage from the recyclables because I care about the environment. I also make a lot more money than she does because I am a travel nurse and she just works at the local hospital. So I feel like that helps balance out the fact that she does pretty much all the chores. I won't go into specifics, but to summarize, I make well beyond 6 figures a year, and she does not. This leads me to why I have sought out advice on Reddit. As I mentioned above, I am a travel nurse and I have been for the past couple years. This opportunity arose as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it has been both rewarding and problematic as far as my relationship goes. The plus side is that I am making significantly more money than I ever had imagined, and I get to travel often. The downside is that I am away from my wife a lot more now than I ever have been. I like to think I have more testosterone than the average male my age, so this is particularly difficult for a guy like me. On my last trip, I met another travel nurse 31F at the hospital I was working at. When we first met, I was upfront about the fact that I am a married man because I love my wife and would never do anything to jeopardize my marriage. At first, this was not an issue, as both of us were just looking for friendship while being away from home. One morning, I was in the lobby of the hotel I was staying at, enjoying a cup of mediocre decaf coffee and trying to solve the daily Wordle. I would usually do this in my hotel room, but that morning I happened to be in the lobby. To my surprise, I hear her voice as she approaches behind me say, "Well, this is a pleasant surprise before a long day at work." For confidentiality reasons, she or her is referring to the other travel nurse I met while working out of town. Her most recent contact is saved in my phone as Raymer Knightley at the moment, so I will also use the name Raymer when referring to her. I turned around and there she was, standing only a mere step away, with a bright smile, long blonde hair, and those blue fig scrubs, her blue eyes staring into mine. I laughed nervously and hesitated to respond, as I could tell she was flirting with me. I wanted to be respectful to my wife and to my marriage, so I thought carefully before responding. After a couple minutes of small talk, she offered to give me a ride to work that day. After all, since we were both staying at the same hotel and working at the same hospital, it almost made sense to carpool. Consequently, things took a turn for the worse. Raymer wanted to carpool to work every day, because it gave her someone to talk to before walking into chaos, and someone to vent to after a very long and stressful day at the hospital. Plus, she and I got along well, so I didn't see a problem with it. I typically handle stress well, and I do not let a tough day at the hospital impact my life outside of work. On the other hand, Raymer has a hard time with this, so I tried to be a good friend in this situation. I really should have listened to my older brother Tom's advice about how these types of scenarios usually play out. He has been cheated on by several different women, including his now ex-fiancée. He always used to say, "A shoulder to cry on becomes a DK to ride on." Me being the good guy that I am, I really just wanted to be a companion to Raymer because I understand how stressful this career is and I can relate. I'm not sure if it was my friendliness, good looks, or a combination of both, but this ultimately led to Raymer coming onto me very strong. One night after work, we decided to grab dinner at a local Irish pub, and between the two of us, we both drank more than we should have. I may have consumed one too many Irish car bombs. One thing leads to another, you know what happens next. Sadly, this happened several more times, typically after a night of drinking. My sober self would never allow something like this to happen, but I admit that I am very unpredictable when I drink and I don't always make the best decisions. One night at house party, I blacked out and accidentally urinated in someone's closet, thinking I was in the restroom. Anyhow, after realizing that I had messed up in my marriage, I tried to reach out to my closest friends for advice, and instead of getting berated, I was congratulated and told that I am the man for hooking up with a hot nurse. At first, I kind of did feel like the man. Raymer is, of many things, a beautiful woman, apparently the kind of woman that can convince a married man to cheat on his wife. What I failed to realize about Raymer that I wish I would have known beforehand is that she is very possessive and controlling. She also has what the younger generation refers to as daddy issues, which I have been told numerous times that this is a clear red flag. After hooking up several more times, I realized that I could not do this anymore. I had already messed things up with my wife, and since I was out of town while this happened, I wanted to wait until I got back home to tell my wife the truth. I figured I owed it to her to at least be honest. Unfortunately, when I told Raymer that we could no longer continue seeing each other, she did not take things well. She got extremely upset and angry and told me that I could not just leave her after all that we had been through. I respectfully told her that I love my wife and that this was a mistake. But she insisted that I need to leave my wife and that if I were to sleep with my wife, I would be cheating on my girlfriend. I decided that enough was enough. So after I returned home, I cut off all communication with Raymer in hopes that this would be the end. As it turns out, she continued to text my phone numerous times throughout the day. I recall receiving 137 messages in one day from her alone. I blocked her number, but that was no use, as she would text me from a different number, presumably through WhatsApp or some other texting app. Every time I blocked her, she would text me again, insisting that I leave my wife, and even threatening to tell my wife about us before I had the chance to. She went as far as to private message me through Words with Friends, which is a game I used to enjoy playing on my phone while drinking my decaf. But now I am afraid to open the app, as there are probably messages from Raymer lingering there. Now, I find myself in a very difficult predicament, as Raymer has made it clear that she is not giving up on the idea of us. I want to tell my wife about everything, but I am so afraid of losing her that I have not yet been able to bring myself to do it. A small part of me also misses having Raymer around because whether I like to admit this or not, crazy chicks are just better in bed. No offense to my wife. At this point, I realize that I have dug myself an irreversible hole. So here are the questions I propose. Do I tell my wife everything, hope that she forgives me, and continue moving forward without Raymer? Do I avoid telling my wife about this and hope that Raymer eventually gives up, and hope that my wife never finds out? I am hesitant about the second idea because I would not put it past Raymer to literally show up at my house if she knew where I live. Lastly, do I avoid telling my wife? Text Raymer back and open that door again, basically accepting the fact that I have effectively effed up with no going back? I feel like I am in too deep, and I don't know what to do. Any advice would be appreciated. Thanks in advance.
Thank you for all your support and enjoy the video.